Hello, artists. So today we're doing another follow along lesson. This time we're getting into something a little bit more exciting, but also a little more complicated. We're going to be working on learning how to draw a creature, specifically a mythical creature. So remember from what we were talking about before about mythical creatures, they are creatures that people used to believe, but they that do not exist. So people used to believe that they were a real thing, but science has kind of proven that they never really existed. They are amazing stories that people used to make up to talk about all sorts of different things. They are wonderful to learn to draw too, because since they are mythical creatures and never really existed, there's no pictures of what they are supposed to look like. So we get to have a little bit of fun with them. What we're going to be doing to start is I'm going to be showing you how to draw a mythical creature by first starting with some really simple shapes. It can be a little bit tough when you're first starting out to be able to draw something that is extra complicated, things that have wings and scales and feathers and fur and all of this stuff. Those can be really complicated to do, but I'm going to be teaching you how to make a complicated picture start more simply, and then you can start adding more of the details to it. So for this first thing, I'm not going to tell you what we're drawing. You're going to have to wait till the end to see it. And you're going to follow along with me step by step. We're going to start off with our piece of paper. You're going to want to, I'm going to do it this way so you can see the whole thing. You're going to want to kind of split it in half. We're not going to need the whole paper for this first part. Just like that. Okay? So we're going to start off by doing just some easy shapes. So when I'm looking at what the finished picture is going to be that I'm not showing you yet, you're going to have an idea of how to break this down. So what I'm looking at, a complicated picture, a complicated creature, I try to look for simple things, circles, squares, triangles, things like that. So when I'm looking at this picture right now, the first thing I'm seeing is a circular shape. So kind of go to the upper left area. Let's even come a little bit closer. There we go. So up, not all the way in the corner, but a little bit away from it, we're going to draw lightly a circle shape. Now you're going to want to try to draw lightly because there's a good chance we're going to be erasing part of it. Doing these simple shapes will make it easier for you to draw, but a lot of them you're going to end up doing some erasing with. So just below and a little bit to the side is going to be another circle that's a little bit smaller. And then kind of diagonal down, we're going to do another circle, about the same size. Okay, so what is happening right now, we're starting off, we've got a head, we've got like a chest area, and then we've got hips. That's where like legs and stuff will be. All of these are going to end up being connected. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top of the head, follow it around, but as we get to the back of the head, we're going to let that come down and do a little S curve. And that's going to go over that circle. Going to do a little dip just right across. And then we're going to follow over the top of that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a big, long, kind of a little S shape. Because that's eventually going to be the tail. So now we're going to connect the other side. So start kind of in the middle of the circle. You're just going to head in the same kind of a curve. So just like this made a bit of an S curve, this is also going to make a little curve to go around the circle. It's going to go straight across to the next circle. And then we're going to follow this line out. Now this will be a little bit tricky. You may want to start on this end. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be following this line, and as you follow it, it should start getting skinnier and skinnier. Now that can sometimes be tough. So I usually would like to start at the other end and start by staying very, very close. And then after I get past the turn, start making it a little bit wider. And that's even a little too skinny for me. So I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. And this is why you want to draw lightly so that you can make any fixes that you might need to fix. Okay? So now we've got head, body, and the tail. So we're going to start by adding in some of the legs. For the back legs, the way that this creature is sitting, and if you have like a dog or cat, you probably can tell what I mean. When an animal sits down, the back legs, like if this is the knee, kind of get really close together. And sometimes you can't always see all of the leg. You might only see part of it. So what we're going to do here, we're going to add to this little circle. We're going to add a little extra bit of roundness right underneath it. This is part of the upper leg and kind of where the knee is. And the leg is being bent, so we don't see part of the leg, but we will see, you're just going to do really easy, 3 little oval shapes right next to each other. And we're going to leave that alone for now, because remember, we're doing simple shapes first. So we're going to move up to the front. You're going to go just inside of this circle, and you're going to bring a line down so it's about even with where these ovals are. Then we're going to go kind of follow along the back end of the circle, and that's also going to come down. This one's actually going to go a little bit lower. This one's going to actually line up with the bottom of the toes. And then what we're going to do, little step. We're going to start like we're going to make a circle shape, but we're not going to end it. We're just going to curl it up and around like that. And then we do another one just like that. Up and around, and it'll stop kind of near where the leg is. And then the last one, just kind of peeking, just like that. Now, these are the legs on one side of the body. On the other side of the body, we're going to do one line. This one, see how these are going up into the circle? Let's actually do this. Let's erase this line and this line. That should help make it a little bit clearer. So then up near the body, we're going to follow this line from the leg all the way down, stop before you hit the other toe, and we're just going to make another little shape right there. So that's showing you the other leg and a little bit of the toe peeking out, and we don't see much more. On the other leg, we see a little bit, just like this oval, a little bit of an oval, and a little curl there for the other toe. Now, this creature also has wings, but we're going to keep it very, very simple. We're going to start right up near the top of this curve that we drew, and we're going to do a curve going up, kind of pointing toward the head. Easy little curve. Then we're going to make this curve come back, and it's going to look like it's pointing at the tail. So we're going to curve it again, pointing towards the tail, but stop when we're just above the leg. Okay? Now I want you to really lightly, kind of near the point, I want you to draw a line that looks like it's kind of in between, lightly, because we're going to end up erasing part of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start at the end of the wing. We're going to do a curve to the next line, and then we're going to curve it towards the shoulder. Now this other little wing, in the picture here, they're not showing it. We're going to sneak it in there though. But just like this, you're going to follow from near the shoulder, curve up toward the head, and then come back, but it's not going to be seen. It goes behind this wing, so you're not going to see any of the rest of it. So we've gotten a lot of the basics down. Now we're going to start getting into a few more of the specific things. So this is going up near the face. We'll start with the face first. Let's get a little closer and focus our camera better. There we go. So this creature is kind of looking downwards. When you have something that's looking down, the eyes kind of look like they're going lower. So when I'm looking at you straight, my eyes are right in the middle of my face here. If I'm looking up, if I have my head tilted up, my eyes are a lot higher, but when I look down, they're a lot lower. So since this creature is looking down, we're not going to do an eyeball in the middle area. We're going to bring it down a little bit. And it's not going to be exactly a circle shape. You're going to think of it kind of like a leaf. And since this is meant to be a younger looking creature, we're going to do a little curve on the inside. And then inside that, a little circle and a little circle. And then this one, we're going to shade this in. For its little eye. Now we're going to do a little bit of shaping on the face because the face itself is not going to be circular. It actually has a bit of a nose. We call it like a muzzle, or if we want to use a cute term, a snoot. I like to call it a snoot. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to kind of start right behind the eye. We're going to follow this curve around, but when it lines up right below the eye, we're going to move away from the circle. We're going to come out and we're going to do almost like a rectangle shape. And let's get rid of this line right here now. I'm going to add a little curve right here because that's where the nostril is. So now we're just going to kind of smooth this area out. We're going to curve this a little more and curve that just a little bit. We're not going to go very far because this creature has itself turned away from us. When you have somebody who's turned to the side, you don't always see their other eyeball because their nose might be blocking the way. So this creature is turned enough to the side that you're not going to really see where its eye is. The eye is right around in this area. Now, this creature does have a horn. Not quite like a unicorn, though. Don't get excited. We're not there yet. You're going to start this, again, kind of aim for right above the eye, partway up the head, and we're going to do a little curve almost straight up. And then we're going to bring that down, kind of aiming towards the middle of the eye. So bring that down, aiming towards the middle of the eye. Awesome. This also has, it's kind of interesting. It's got a little bit of a furry look to it. It has a little bit of fur right next to the horn. So we're going to add two little triangle shapes. A little triangle and an even smaller triangle. And that is actually going to connect then to this dark part of the circle we made. This version of a creature has a large ear. So we're going to add a little ear. Here's what you're going to do. We're going to start not quite where the horn and the fur meet. We're going to go a little bit higher. And that is going to go, same kind of idea. It's going to kind of curve up. But when we bring it back down, we're actually going to be aiming down right below where the fur ends. And that's going to go in a big curve. Think of it like you're making a raindrop or like a teardrop. Going to do a nice big part. And then we can erase this part in the middle. And this part, it's a little hard to explain what it is. So I'm going to show it to you and then you'll be able to see it a little easier. Start up at the top and we're going to follow this line aiming towards this bit of fur. Like that. So what this is, this whole area is an ear, which is kind of like a curved shape. So when you have something that is curved and you turn it a little bit, you still see the inside, but you also see a little bit of the outside. So a straight ear versus a curved ear. So this is like the top of the ear. This part is like the inside of the ear. And it might help to do a little bit of shading right there. Very, very lightly. So now we're going to go to the other side. We're going to have to do another horn. But for this one, we're going to go right from where we left off, just above the eye. It's almost in line with where the other horn is. And that's going to go up and then come back and stop right around where you have, oops, I made mine a little bit too wide. Careful now. Back towards the head. Awesome. Now the other ear, we're only going to see another, again, just like with the wing, we're only going to see a little bit of it. So you're just going to see a little bit of a fatter triangle right there. Now, this little guy actually has some spikes that go around from the forehead all the way down its back. So here's what you're going to do. I want you right where the horn meets the part of that circle that we still have up here that we haven't gotten rid of, and you're going to very lightly draw a curve that comes down the middle of the head almost to where it meets the nose. So you're going to curve from there very lightly down towards the snoot. And that's where we're going to start putting the spikes. We're going to start off very small, and you're going to make a little triangle and then connect it across the line. And then you're going to make it a little bit bigger right on that line. A little bigger, and then darken that line. So let's get rid of the light lines that are in here now, because we don't need those. We want it to look like all these spikes are lining up with each other, so that's why we drew the line there. And we can see a little bit of a spike right between the horn and the ear. And for this picture colored these in, so we're going to shade these in a little bit darker. Okay? So now these spikes are going to continue all the way down the back of the creature. So we're just going to start following the line of the neck, and we're going to start doing some little triangles. Now, if your triangles cross over this back wing, that's okay. So if I make a little triangle and it hides part of that, that's going to be okay. But they're not going to go in front of this line. This wing is in front, so it will not cross over there. And just to hide it, I'm going to shade that in. Shade that in, and shade that in. And then I'm just going to keep going. So I would imagine there's another one right here. And as you continue, these are going to start getting a little bit smaller as you go. Until they're super tiny. And we'll go ahead and shade those in. So far, so good. So hopefully you're seeing now how by doing these really simple shapes, it's pretty easy to get the creature looking pretty nice, even just from being simple. So now we're going to go in and start adding more of the details. So on the wing, remember I said we had this line here and we're not really going to need it? What you're going to do is we're going to start by the first part of the wing, a little bit away from it. You're going to go up towards the middle, but before you get to that line, you're going to stop and then go down and aim for the corner. And then from there, you're going to follow it back up. Stop before you hit the other side, and that's going to come down to the end. I'm going to get rid of that middle, and I'm going to add a little detail. So here's a fun way to do some detail on a wing, like a dragon wing, something that's like leathery. Instead of trying to shade it in too much, try this. You have the curve at the bottom of the wing. Start doing more curves, one after the other, as close as you can get them. Tinier and tinier and tinier and tinier. And then do the same thing on this part. All the way to the top. Now, instead of trying to shade it, I'm just going to really lightly rub that in a little bit with my finger because I want to keep the stripes, but I want them to blend in just a tiny bit. And I'll use my eraser to kind of clean up where my finger might have missed. Now, this is something that you could do on the inside of the wing, but since this part of the wing is turned away from us and we don't see the inside of it, we don't need to do any of those designs on it. I like to do a little bit of shading whenever something's behind like this. I like to have a little bit of shading. Okay. So our next bit of detail is going to go on with the legs. We can pretty much leave these toes alone. We're just going to add in some claws. So to do a claw, we're going to leave this oval. I'm going to start a little bit below it, and I'm going to make kind of like a raindrop shape, only upside down. So it's going to go up, loop around, down. 2, 3. So this is also a way that you might make dog claws or cat claws. Now this one at the back, we're just going to see a little curvy triangle to be the claw. We'll go ahead and shade those in. Now on the front feet, same thing. Don't go too high, keep it kind of low. Little kind of sideways raindrops. And then just a tiny little boop boop on the other one. And since this leg is behind this leg, I'm going to do a really light shade just to show that it's behind. Same with this. Nice. Okay. I'm going to make this line a little bit darker because we're going to keep it. Same with this one. By this point, we can now erase this inside circle. Keep the line for the legs though. And on the one at the back, we're going to do a little bit there, but we're going to leave more of that showing. Now, this little guy has some scales that go down the front. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to start up close by the head, and we're just going to follow the line of the body. We're just going to follow, hit the leg and stop, go to the next leg, follow, stop, go to the next part, and this is just going to go a little bit and down. And then we're going to break that area up with some little stripes. Give them a little bit of a curve, just a little curve. There we go. Now, you probably already kind of figured out that yes, we are doing like a little baby dragon. And dragons do have some scales, but we're not going to go and try to draw teeny tiny scales over the whole thing. We don't need to. With something like this, what we can do is hint about the scales without doing every single scale. So I'll show you what I mean. So on the arm here, what we're going to do is draw a little oval. And then above it, you're going to do a couple more ovals, and they're going to get a little bit smaller each time. So the next one is going to be a little smaller, tiny. And then we're going to do the same thing going down. A little bit smaller, super tiny. So this is kind of hinting that it does have some scales, and especially big ones on the arm, because it kind of helps to protect them. We're going to put a few on the back leg too. So this one, we're going to start the oval a little bit lower, a little smaller, tiny, a little smaller. Awesome. We're going to add a few of these up by the face. So right kind of following around the edge of the eye, a couple little circles. And then we're going to add some on the horns. So bigger oval, smaller, tiny, smaller, smaller, tiny, and a few little, just kind of hint that there are a few on the other side. If you want to add some more scale details, the easiest way to do that, rather than adding every single little scale, is to maybe just do a couple little curves like this. To help you do that. So we got a nice little baby dragon. Ta-da! So I'm going to move it up a little bit, and I'm going to show you. Ooh. Camera doesn't want to stay up. There's the one that we did. Here's the one we were looking at. Pretty close. So now you can see where all those little shapes were that I was talking about. So when I was looking at this, I looked at circle area for the head, circle right here for like the chest, circle right here for the leg. There was our curve following it, our other curve, the little rectangle kind of for the snoot, the longer shapes for the leg, the little partial circles for the toes, triangles. So again, simple shapes. It's a cute little detailed character. I made some of my own choices. I didn't do the wings exactly the same. I wanted to show you guys something that looks a little bit better than just some lines for shading. And we added a few more little scales than this one had, but that's part of what being an artist can let you do. So for this, you're going to have followed along with me, and hopefully you got something that looks very similar. And I'm excited to see how you did. And in the next video, we're going to take this a step further. So I will see you in that video.